All right, so here it is. So many people have asked me to do this video and I'm doing it. How do you turn juice into wine? This is the only recipe you will ever need to do this. Make sure you're watching this to the end to see the final result. And make sure you're liking and subscribing. It helps keep this channel going. But let me tell you, I can't wait to do this video. It's the easiest wine you could ever make, and the process is easy. So if you don't have access to fruit, this is the video you need to see. Let's get right into it.
When I'm with you, there's no reason for wine. I'm intoxicated by your side. Nothing in the world's gonna beat this high. I've been searching for all of my life.
So what kind of juice can you turn into wine? Well, number one, you got to make sure it's 100% juice, and you got to look at the ingredients. That's key. If you see anything that says sulfites or sulfates, don't do it. Your yeast won't get going. You got to make sure you're getting stuff that doesn't have preservatives. Let me tell you, there's a lot out there, but it's hard to find any that don't have these preservatives in. That's why I like to use fruit, because I know what's going in. So what are some of the benefits of using juice? Number one, you won't have as many rackings because all the pulp is already taken out. So there's no mesh bag that's needed to collect the pulp. This is easy to do. Let me tell you, this is going to make a great red wine. Hands down, if you make this, you aren't going to buy it anymore in a wine store because you've made it and it's that good, I promise. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get some equipment sanitized. I use Star San. This just makes your job so much easier. This, if you mix it up right, I have a whole sanitation video. This is safe. It's the only product I will use. So if you see anything that you like in this video and you want to get it, look in the description. I got links for most of this stuff. If I'm missing anything, let me know and I'll get you one. Let's get right into sanitation. All right, we got our sanitizer mixture up. Let's get some of our stuff in here that we're going to need. We're not going to need this right away. That'll be in the second part of the video when we start racking the wine. You're going to need an airlock like this. I always put a cup in to help sanitize. We're going to need our measuring cups for some of the ingredients. 2 spoons is great for crushing up your Campden tablets. I always will put a shot glass because I'm going to be tasting this. So we want to put that in. And this is what I use to get it out to do my samples. We'll need that. Also, you need a paddle to get all this stuff stirred in. No mesh bag on this one. And don't forget your hydrometer. This is what we're going to use to test our ABV, alcohol by volume. And we're more interested in what the potential is in this fermentation part of the process. And you don't really need this, but I'm going to show you today what it's used for. Just because it's going to be easier to show you than for me to float that in the bucket, the hydrometer. But we'll get all this sanitized too. All right, let's go over some of the ingredients you're going to need for this grape juice wine. We got the Red Star wine yeast. You know it's my favorite. You need yeast nutrient to help get that yeast going. Some Campden tablets, some acid blend, some wine tannin, and some pectic enzyme. Now, for this recipe, I'm making a 3-gallon batch, but I'm going to put the recipe in here for each 1 gallon, 3 gallon, and 5 gallon. So we want 2 pounds of sugar per gallon of wine. Since we're making 3 gallons, we want 6 pounds of sugar. All right, there's 4 pounds. I need another 2. All right, so I got a stock pot here, and what we want to do is we want to get our sugar, our 6 pounds of sugar in here for our 3-gallon batch. So there's the 4, and then here's the extra 2. All right, and to our sugar, we're going to add 2 of these grape juices here. Remember, since we're using juice, the water is already added. If you use concentrate, you're going to have to add water. But what we want to do is we want to get this sugar dissolved. And the best way to do that, since we already got the water added, is to do it right in the grape juice. So what we'll do is we'll bring this almost, not quite to a boil, but you just want to make sure all the sugar is dissolved. That's what we want to shoot for. And remember, sanitation is key. I've already sanitized this spoon, and I'm just going to get this sugar stirred in. And we'll keep stirring this until I don't hear that noise anymore, which will be close to boiling. You don't want to bring it too close. You don't want to burn your sugar. That's the key here. All right, listen to this. There's no more sugar scraping. That's what you want. No sugar. It's starting to bubble a little bit, but again, we don't want to burn this. We just want to get that dissolved. And I'm scraping all around, and there's nothing. So we can get this off the heat and let this cool to room temperature. All right, we got our sanitized bucket. You can see some of the sanitizer in there. That's okay, because that's how you want to use sanitizer, wet. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get some of our chemicals added. We're going to start with these Campden tablets. Since I'm making a 3-gallon batch, it's 3 Campden tablets. The next thing we want to put in is our acid blend. You want a 1/2 teaspoon per gallon. Again, 3-gallon batch, I'm going to use 3 1/2 teaspoons of this. 1, 2, 3. The next thing we want to use is yeast nutrient. We want a 1/2 teaspoon per gallon. So again, 3 of these for my particular batch. 1, 2, 3. The next thing is wine tannin. Again, 1/2 teaspoon per gallon. So I'm going to use 3 of these for my 3-gallon batch. And last but not least, pectic enzyme, a 1/2 teaspoon per gallon. So 3 of these for my batch. Now, one thing you want to make sure, you do not want to put your yeast in here. You got to wait 24 hours for this stuff to get working. We're going to kill any yeast that might be in that juice, which shouldn't be. That's why a lot of these, the Campden tablets, will work on this and get this going. 24 hours from now, we will put the yeast in. Let's get to the next step. All right, let's get these other 4 juices opened up. Let the fun begin. Now, I got these other 4 in here. We're gonna just add these to the bottom of the bucket. And if you love grapes, this smells amazing. Man, I could just jump in this. Now remember, this process, this is called the primary fermentation. That's what we're getting started here. When we start to add that other bucket that has that dissolved sugar in, that sugar, once we add the yeast, will turn into alcohol. That's what makes it become wine. Ah, yeah. Let's get that sugar grape juice in here. And here it is. Oh, I hope I don't spill this. Look at that color. Oh, it smells so good. All right, I just sanitized my paddle. I'm gonna wait a minute, let this sit here. And then what we're gonna do is we got all those chemicals down in the bottom. We wanna get that mixed in. And then we're gonna take a hydrometer reading and we're gonna see what the potential alcohol of this will turn out to be. We may need to add water if it's too high. If it's too low, we could add some more simple syrup. And I'll show you that in case we need to do it. So let's get it stirred. Now, since I'm making a 3-gallon bucket, I could just drop this hydrometer in here, and I might just do that to see where it's at. And on your gauge, there will be something that says percent potential alcohol. It'll be marked here. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll show you a close-up of this. But that's what we want to see. I want to get this probably somewhere between probably 10 and 14%. 12 is usually ideal for a wine. So let's just see where we're at. It's about 17%. So I'm just going to add a little water to this. So do this very slow when you add water to bring your potential alcohol down, because you don't want to overshoot it and then it becomes too weak. And I'll just keep doing this until the reading's where I want. And then I'm going to put this in my flask so you can kind of see where it's at. It'll give you a close-up, a better look at that. All right. You probably can't see that, but that is about somewhere between 13 and 14% potential alcohol. So what does that mean? That means if when this primary fermentation is done, if you get down to a 1.0 rating, which I've always been able to do, that's what your alcohol, your ABV is going to be. It's going to be 13 to 14%. So what I did here is I'm down to about 13 to 14%, which is perfect for me. So I added about another gallon of water. So this 3-gallon batch now turned out to 4-gallon, which is great. What that means is this juice had a lot of sugar in it. Not granulated sugar, but natural sugar. So each juice is going to be a little different. You may have to add more water. It may come out you don't have to add any water, but that's okay. That's what makes it fun and challenging. I could have maybe not put as much sugar up front. Instead of 2 pounds, maybe it's 1.5 pounds. But again, each juice is going to be different. I just add water to get it to where I want. If I get more wine, that's better yet. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get the top on in the airlock, and we're going to let this sit for 24 hours before we add the yeast. So let's wait until then, and I'll show you the next process. That's it. All right, it's been 24 hours, and we want to get this yeast in. So let's open this up, and there we go. Now all we need to do is sprinkle this on top. I'm going to use pretty much the whole pack here. We're not going to stir this in. This will work fine just as is. We'll come back in 24 hours and 24 hours after that until this is done bubbling and fermenting. All right, I don't know if you can see this already, but it is bubbling, and it's not even a total of 24 hours. It's close, but we're already making wine. All right, let's open it up, and we're going to give it a stir. Look at all that foam already. I got my sanitized stir paddle, but this is what we want. The foam, that's the yeast working. We're well on our way. We're just going to give it a stir. We're going to stir this every 24 hours until fermentation stops. It'll usually take 7 to 10 days. I'm not going to bore you with all that, but we'll check back from time to time. Day 2 bubbling away. Let's give it a stir. Wow, look at all that foam. That is some serious yeast in there. Look at that. This thing's going crazy. I'm just going to give it just a gentle stir. That's all we want to do. We just want to kind of mix the yeast on and make sure it's working. And if you could smell this, it smells like grape soda. All right, we are on day 3. Look at this thing. It is really bubbling today. I can get it stirred up. Still foaming. It's not ready. Like I said, 7 to 10 days is what this is going to take. Slight stir. Close it up. Day 5. Let's open this up and see what we got. All right, you can see the foaming is really settled down. It's still working. We're going to give it a stir a little bit, and we'll check back in another day or so. But definitely we're on the downward trend. This might be done in 7 days. All right, you can see here, this bubbler has come to a crawl. It's only been bubbling maybe once a minute, and that's how you know you're almost ready. We're going to get this opened up. It's day 10. So I said 7 to 10 days, up to maybe 14 is about how long your primary fermentation is going to go. Let's get it open and get it tested and see what our final ABV is at. You should really see very little foam anymore in here. It's day 10. So there it is. Look at that. I'm going to take some of this out and get it in our cylinder and show you how to use this and check our ABV. Remember, we were at a potential of about 14%. For us to get to that, we need to get it to a 1.0 specific gravity. Let's test it. So I got a sanitized cup here. We're going to try not to make a mess, but we're going to dump it in this cylinder so we can float our hydrometer. And that should be good. So here is our sanitized hydrometer. We're going to drop this in, and this should go almost to the end. Right there is the 1.0. So we want it less than that. This is going to drop way down. Just from experience, I know when it's ready. And you can see it's exactly 1.0. So what that means is when we started with that 14% ABV, that's the ABV because we got it to a 1.0 specific gravity. We're ready to get it racked. We're ready to get this racked. I got my 3-gallon carboy down below here. We're going to get the lid off. And we're going to get this siphon in here. And we'll put the hose down. Now what we don't want to do, remember, a lot of this dead yeast is going to be at the bottom. We don't want to stir this much. We're going to do a couple rackings, so we'll get most of it out, but I want to get some out now if I can. All right, it's going. Now remember, we started with the 3-gallon batch, and I had to add a little water to get the ABV to where I wanted. So I'm not only going to need a 3-gallon, I got a 1-gallon jug sanitized. So we'll get this as much in as we can, and then we'll switch to the 1-gallon. I think we're going to get 4 gallons out of this 3-gallon batch, which is great. And if you could smell it, it's going to be the most perfect red wine you could make. I promise you. And there it is. We got our red wine going into our carboy. I'm loving it. So here it is, our red wine. I got it filled up to about where I want. I could have added a little more, but more important, let's get this airlock. You don't want to get oxygen in this as much as possible. Let's get the 1-gallon done. So look at this. I got 4 gallons of wine out of that 3-gallon batch, which is awesome. And I had a little bit, just enough to fill this up. I like to get the wine up to about this next because we want to eliminate oxygen space in here. This one's perfect. All I got to do now is I got to fill my airlocks. I just put them on there temporarily till I got it done. Fill our airlocks and we'll sit this down in a cool place. I like to put it in my basement for 30 days. And the next step is we're going to add our bentonite, let that sit for 30 days, and this will be ready. We just made wine from grape juice, and it's going to be the best red wine. Make sure you don't miss part 2 of this, where we're going to finalize this, rack it, filter it, bottle it, and maybe taste it. So stay tuned for part 2. All my equipment, make sure there's links in the description if you want to buy any of this stuff. But don't miss part 2. Like and subscribe, and see you then. Have a great weekend.
I can't remember what it's like to hold one you love by your side. Or maybe I just can't seem to sing to save my